If I need a secondary sleeve grip just to make sure he's not grabbing the collar, that's fine too. But I think more importantly than the actual grip with my right hand is like the extension. If I'm curled in here, this is when it's gonna feel like it's very hard for me to get my lasso in. And then I might have to push the hand to get the leg in. And then at that point, again, he's already winding his hand out and he's gone. So just make sure when I'm in my four corners, I'm like extending myself away, using like my hips and my back. Now there's so much space that I should feel like it's very easy for that lasso in. Okay. Now we're gonna progress to like a deep lasso, and I think having a good lasso overall, you need to be able to go back and forth between the two. You can't just commit to playing shallow, or you can't just commit to playing deep. There's different strengths and different attacks for both. Okay. So now when I commit to going deeper, again, I'm still making sure my knuckles are attached to my thigh here, and we're gonna do like a tilt sweep. So I'm gonna tilt Albie to my left, his right. A couple of things I need. My half guard hook, my toes are hooking his shin. I'm managing the distance, creating a bit of space, grabbing my sleeve, kick through, and loop over. I have that foot for distance management here. When I'm ready, I give a little push, kick my leg off, and now I also need to help punch this across. Sometimes it can still work. Like if I'm really aggressive, I can still manage to pull the arm across, but I don't want to give him an underhook or have him shut it down. So ideally when I'm here, I lift the elbow, but I'm also punching the sleeve in, and that's gonna help me drag the forearm to the mat. And knee, half Nelson, pull him over, and here. And you can see, my hips are up to the ceiling, but Albie's to the side. So that's why I hip escape first. If you try and throw your hook in, especially with my little legs, it's not gonna happen. So you need one little hip escape, and then now if he lands flush, then I can put that second hook in. How I set up my lasso, okay? I mentioned I want you to feel comfortable in your half guard first before you just throw in the lasso. If we're lacking control, then there's always like a small opening where my partner might capitalize. And one thing as well that's really important is I want to make sure I keep the sleeve grip to like my belt. So when I throw my lasso in, Albie's hand isn't really going to move here. Okay, so I kick and I go around his arm. Okay, as opposed to I think because we might not feel comfortable throwing in the lasso from this half guard position, if we're a little bit too tight, we might have the tendency to like push his arm and then throw. But you see the difference here? Like look how far away my forearm or my knuckles are from my thigh. If I do this, Albie's just gonna wind his hand to the outside, and then this is not a very good lasso anymore, and he'll break the grip and maybe pass. Okay, so make sure when you go for your lasso that you feel like you've created enough distance to throw your leg in without pushing his arm away. Okay, I actually want to keep his hand to like my belt the whole time. Let's rotate a little bit. So I could just have a lazy half guard hook here, but I think it adds more control to like flex my toes low to his shin here, just to try and prevent him from like putting his foot wider for base. And then when I'm ready to go for my sweep too, my lasso is gonna go from like hooking his lats to like putting my foot close to like his knee on the floor here. You can play with all the different grips, like I can reach for his pant on the outside of the knee, I can keep the sleeve, but ultimately if you have the mechanics right, I shouldn't even need a secondary grip. I'm gonna keep my hips in the same like angle here, and I'm just gonna change from my right hip to my left hip. So I have like a 45-degree angle with my hips. When I turn it here, I should still have that same 45-degree angle, okay? Now, how we stabilize, a couple different ways. If I could reach for this pant grip, I really like this, it stops me from standing up. I can move my leg inside, so I come on top here, okay? But there's a bunch of different ways. If you have a preference, that's fine, you can use your own way. I think just lifting the pant grip here is pretty strong because it stops Albie from like getting up and following me. We make sure we have our 4 points of contact and we feel comfortable in the guard here. Then I'm going to switch my hand on the collar side just to the sleeve. Okay, I'm going to push and kick through, looping my leg over. So my foot, the flat part of my foot goes right to his shoulder here. Okay, and then when I'm ready, I'm just going to push away a little bit, kick off, grab the tricep. And again, I'm purposely creating this like flare. There's a chicken wing bend. So I want the forearm to go to the floor too. And then I pull, dropping his forearm. Okay, once I'm behind him, I can even scoot back if I need to. Then I put my hand and knee to the floor. Okay, from here, right away, instead of our seatbelt, left arm goes under, right arm goes over, behind his head, bite down to lift that shoulder, pulling him to the side. Then now I can lift for my seatbelt, hip escape, second hook. Okay. If you're flexible enough, you might not need that second hip escape to throw the top hook in. I have short legs, so usually I find the angle I'm not very flush with my partner when I pull him back. So that's why I would do like an extra hip escape if you need. So again here, if I try and jump to the side and Albie drops his shoulder and lifts his hip, sometimes like I can start to like slip off the top here. Okay, and then all that work and I might lose the back control. Whereas when I have my half Nelson control here, it just forces him to fall with me because I pull that far shoulder. Okay, and then I can lift for my seatbelt, hip escape, and then start worrying about that top up.